Yes, thank you very much, Philip and Ines. Yes, my name is Annette, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to speak here as a group in this inspiring conference. And yes, I'll say a few extra words about our group first, and then we'll move on to our contribution. Yes, our group has been founded to support the soul of Germany and the increasing inflow of the fourth ray. Germany has a fourth ray soul, as we know. So the soul energies of the nations and the increasing fourth ray both seem essential energies for a unified Europe and for the awakening of the planetary soul. In meditation, research, and ritual, we work with German history, politics, culture, astrology, transmutation, healing, and the seeding of the new. We perceive our group field as a microcosm of the collective for which we have taken responsibility. So naturally, the fourth ray plays a significant role in our group life. One fourth ray realization is that in a world of conflicting opposites, excluding one aspect of the countless dualities destroys unity, synthesis, and beauty. So to create an atmosphere in our group field that honors and includes polarities is an ongoing effort and sometimes discipline for us. To hold our different points of view regarding the political and social realities in Germany and Europe in a field of creative tension is an art we are learning together. We see in this effort a service for Germany as a whole. By radiating this quality through our group field, it may help Germany as an entity to develop more this fourth ray quality. So we see contact with the soul qualities and the envisioned future of the German being and offer our bowl, our Klangschale, in humble contribution to help the German nation take up her predestined place and function in right relation and cooperation with the other nations for the benefit of all. So let us have a look at Germany in the wider context of Europe now, recalling the beginning of Europe in our collective imago. We will accompany it with the sound of the rebab, a Middle Eastern instrument. From the start, music is part of our work, and as it is also an essential element in the German culture. It will be played by Sabine, who is often holding a sound space for our meditations. According to the myth, Europa, a Phoenician princess, was abducted or seduced and rode on the bull Zeus, god the father, to Europe. Thereby, she gave the continent its name. We want to highlight that in the collective imago, this continent is a woman. The first ancient myths of Europe are images of women, of a princess or a queen, as it is here in this picture. The different countries of Europe are regions of her body. Germany, as you can see, is situated in the heart area. What information does the Tibetan master give us about the race and the astrology of this nation in the heart area of Europe, Germany? As already mentioned, the soul of Germany vibrates on the fourth ray, the ray of harmony through conflict. In connection with the sign Aries as the ascendant. The Tibetan master says that the influences of this first sign in connection with the fourth ray of the soul is very strong. Aries sets the beginning and is responsible for the new spiritual impulses. It brings about the new and at the same time eliminates the old, always with the aim of making a higher truth visible. In addition, the fourth ray soul, which in beauty wants to connect the abstract world with the worlds of form and to see and convey the unity of all aspects. In this way, it constantly wants to bring forth a new harmony and greater beauty, and this on all levels of consciousness. Germany has a personality of the first ray, the ray of will and power, in connection with the sign Pisces. Here is the challenge for Germany to stand truthfully and clearly in its own individuality and neither swim along fishwise nor express the distorted sense of an identity of a weak first ray. Germany may continue to integrate and overcome its fear of abusing power once again, in order to boldly sound its own note, loud and clear, and take its place in the orchestra of nations in a powerful and harmonizing way. The impressive, mystical, and sensitive Pisces personality, paired with the first ray, willpower, purposefulness, and the power of synthesis, is a valuable instrument for this. The horoscope of the reunification of Germany on 3rd October 1990 adds a Libra Sun and a Leo Ascendant. By choosing not the static but the dynamic balance of Libra, Germany is supported by the Libra energy to choose and weigh freely according to the true values and principles. In Libra, we encounter the will to create right relationships. That leads to more harmony, balance, and beauty in our lives and in the world. The Tibetan says that after training in right human relations, the German people will discover their soul, and then the soul-penetrated personality of the German people will demonstrate in a unique way the deeper meaning of harmony. The Leo ascendant supports Germany to be more and more fully what it really is, to be oneself and to radiate this fact like a heart, like a sun heart, without any limitation. There, an idea of Germany emerges in us as a peacemaker, a peace builder, who stands up convincingly and powerfully for the highest human values and principles. And here we also find a connection to Germany's motto, I preserve. So over to you, Sabine.
I cannot see me, but can you hear me? Good evening.
We can hear you very well, Sabine, and we can see you.
Okay, so then I start. Germany as a weaving power in the heart of Europe. With thanks to Annette, after listening to the general overview of the German personality and soul conditions, it is my pleasure now to take you with me to a short trip through the German history, to have a look how this was expressed, how we can recognize some of these aspects and in which state of development and evolution we may find it. How did we become who we are today? How did we become a state? What has shaped us and what can later be recognized as German identity? Maybe you can see our presentation as an imagined model of watching and reflecting your own nation, questioning what needs to be integrated, where are your secret hidden wounds, and how you want to heal them. How can we do it together? To integrate and unify us as European soul-guided nations also may mean to recognize in loving kindness our vulnerabilities, our shadows, our worst worked out expressions, and our sincerely regrets. Our will to make it better, and together we can make it. So, dear sisters and brothers, fasten your seatbelts for a short gallop through the German history with the attempt to make general tendencies recognizable through exemplary case studies. To set a hypothesis in advance, it seems that German's first-rate personality was somehow unobstructive, constructive, as long as all these folks who later formed the German nation could move in somehow defined but loose bond of coexisting way. Germany has come a long way. Named at first by the Romans, we look back on about 2000 years of history. Let's discern some motives. The motives of spreading, connecting, and mixing spontaneous and intended relationships. The motive of a sacred task, a dedication to something larger that gives a sense of being. The ability to take leadership and responsibility, therefore. Another motive, the ability to think and act systematically, creating systems that span widely, spatial and temporal. As much organization as necessary, as much freedom as possible, or every man for himself and God for us all. These are two very German mottos. At the very moment, Germany appears strangely weak and expressingless. The attempt to combine the intensification of opposites as being a loyal ally of the Western Alliance on the one hand, as being a country with naturally grown and intended relations with the East, especially Russia, on the other hand, and its own independent nature, which owns standards of value. Here, Germany seems to fail. How comes? If we look back, Germany was always strong and successful in a positive way when it had enough room for maneuver, when she could spontaneously act and react, create. But the narrower Germany is requested as a single unit, the faster the country seems to get caught up in itself and irrational ways of acting. Or we observe tendencies of hesitating agony, while watching out where the wind blows, without questioning, without insisting on, I do it my way. Please excuse when I hop forward and back, but without any actual reference, it maybe would be boring for you as non-Germans to listen to all these historic facts. Looking back in history, we found rich fountains of existing potentials and example where our soul qualities shine up. So let's have a look. Motive 1, spreading and mixing spontaneous and intended relationships. Roman, Teutonic, Celtic, Slavic, Saxon, Bavarian, Franconian, Swabian, and Frisian blood flows in the veins of the early German tribes. A good cross-section of the European map. Frequent migrations, conquest, and settlements enrich this cocktail of genes even further. They cover the middle and south of Europe. So, an interesting link to Sveta's representation. The Western Christianity also builds her temple on the rock of the Apostle Peter. So let's see, what does it mean? We come to motive number 2, legitimation of secular power through a sacred task. With the coronation of the King of the Franks, Charlemagne V the Great, in 800, the Roman imperial dignity was revived and stayed with all German kings as Roman emperors in centuries of close ties between the rulers of the gradually emerging German Empire and the Holy See in Rome. A connection that lends the German emperors a special aura. For the German emperor is also the supreme patron of Christianity, the Advocatus Ecclesiae, and the universal ruler of the Holy Roman Empire, which is a composed tapestry of German nations existing for almost 900 years, until 1806. When it fell, there was a lack of higher purpose, and we already know what a bit later was raising to fill this gap, unfortunately. Motive number 3, creating functioning systems that span wide spaces, first beginnings of practical weaving. Some examples. A merchants' organization began in the 12th century to secure mainly North German trade routes and common economic interests abroad, the German Hanseatic League. It existed for almost 500 years and, at the time of its greatest expansion, linked almost 300 cooperating cities, promoting not only the economy, but also political and cultural creativity. Or another, the German craft guild system was one of the very first professional associations and formed the basis of high quality and consistent products as a solidarity community for its members, as a reproducible training system, the basis of Made in Germany. Alexander mentioned already the results of the inventing of the printing books of Johannes Gutenberg in 1440. In a way, this was the birth of the mass media, linking an incredible number of people together, which was not possible before. This helped the rebellious monk Martin Luther in 1517 to spread his indictment of the church and made the Bible that he translated for the first time in a people's language, in German, accessible to almost everybody who could read. Luther's Reformation and the division in Catholics and Protestants changed the world of faith as well as the political and social balance in Germany, in Europe, excuse me. From now on, Life in Germany is split between a movement back to the old order with emperor, pope, and clear ruling structures, and a movement towards the desire for civil liberties and rights. Step by step towards an independent nation. Germany approached the thinking of a new age by philosophical rather than actionist means. It is about freeing man from self-inflicted immaturity, says Immanuel Kant, the German landmark of the Enlightenment in the dawn of industrialization and the French Revolution. Book printing and the Reformation had already left cracks in the old worldview. The French Revolution further divided Germany into supporters and opponents. It is the birth of the idea of a nation state, but Germany is one of the last countries to establish itself as a nation state. This also has to do with the fact that the relatively unified Holy Roman Empire is now over, and the various German principalities and kingdoms do not act together, but lurch back and forth in a patchwork of alliances, always trying to avert greater harm and find salvation in the protection of the right superpower like Napoleon's France, Prussia, or the Habsburg Empire, Protestant or Catholic. The pattern of the German and European map in the 18th and 19th centuries is confused and of little expiry date. Behind all this is a first murmured, but then always louder spoken magic word: freedom, liberté. With the call for freedom, for completely new division of power and the chance to improve all levels in society, a call goes out to the fourth ray soul of Germany. And there is an answer from the German soul, a spark with initial power from a group of young, idealistic, educated, knowledge-thirsty and world-hungry Germans. It is the time of Schiller and Goethe in Weimar. It is the miracle of Jena, one of over 50 small university cities, while England has 2, just in the neighborhood. It stretches only over 10 years, but it is a shining light. They demand free thinking, self-experiment. They try to bringing the arts and the sciences, the material and the spiritual, facts and intuition into a new harmonious synthesis. They are the first agents of interdisciplinary science without knowing this term. They are the trailblazers of psychology, which will be born 100 years later. They are the bearers and the first steps towards an integrated personality. It is a prematurely dawn of interconnectedness, something we are still struggling today for. Their names are Fichte, Schelling, Schlegel, Novalis, von Humboldt. For the German Geistesleben, the life of the inspirational mind of Germany, they are as Beethoven in terms of music. As the Tibetan says, the genius of Germany has often in the past been expressed along the line of its fourth ray soul. And through its power, Germany has given much of music and philosophy to mankind. It would be wonderful if we could stop here, but on the contrary, the most difficult and painful part lies directly ahead of us. The German personality has to make her way through the different stages of the nation's birth. Awakening, omnipotence, impotence, the painful trials and tribulations at the beginning of existence as a nation inflict deep wounds. From her national beginning, Germany saw 6 nation states until today, and 21 chancellors from the beginning with Bismarck to Adolf Hitler. Almost from the beginning, it experienced 2 meteoric rises, one of them astonishing, the second devastating, led 2 world wars and experienced 2 crashes. This is also a reflection of the movement of tectonic plates of the ages rub against each other, create tensions, collapse and explode. A burst has many sequences and all are dangerous. What we see is the rough development of a young, immature, first-rate personality, which initially, in the upward rush of its successes, falls prey to a fantasy of omnipotence and goes nuts. After becoming a national state, Germany increased its industrial production sixfold. The strong economic growth was accompanied by an equally rapid science and research. Before the First World War, every third Nobel Prize in the natural sciences went to Germany. So, responding to Dennis, maybe some of them should have gone also to Russia. In every field, there are groundbreaking innovations that bring improvement, but also acceleration to all areas of life. Everything seems possible and within reach. But why was Germany so successful? In its first complete merger, Germany benefited from its centuries-long federalistic state structure with a great diversity within the countries and also in the complex relations of these individual small states with other European countries. Everything that moves a society forward, university, research, art, philosophy, entrepreneurship, existed in this structure multiplied by 100. And as so often happens when one's own identity is not yet fully formed and mature, one identifies oneself through common enemies who are somehow different from oneself and through an inflated sense of self-worth. And so we see how, in the formation of opinion in this time, the importance of nationalist, often anti-Semitic agitation associations increased, which also demanded a political world power position for the German Reich, which had risen to become an industrial giant by all means. Germany's aggressive imperial striving for power was attempted to be limited by the great powers Russia, France, and Great Britain, which had joined together to form a triple entente. Germany, in turn, saw itself encircled on the eve of the First World War by enemies who wanted to prevent its rise in world politics. Watch out, we speak about the time before World War I. Here too we can see a delusionary trait of the first ray, aggression, destructive potential out of self-interest, the tendency to separate. With this idea of its omnipotence, Germany started the First World War and loses it. But again, for a short time, in all this hustling and bustling, a bright and path-blazing window is opening in the field of fine arts, applied arts, new life concepts. Multinational art groups like the Bauhaus in Dessau or the Blaue Reiter, the Blue Knight in Munich, experiment with never-seen concepts. The abstract and the essential is going to be discovered and applied. Group life is practiced to verify the new concepts. It was a promising start made by co-workers and inventional spirits. Here rises a beauty of new harmonic order, of never-seen arrangements, and space and light and far horizons were shining up. Holistic approaches started to melt in first material expressions. But as quickly as the window is opening, as quickly it will be slammed again. World War I is starting, and painters, thinkers, and architects, and not only them, are sacrificed for less useful and sad purposes. The resulting consequences from World War I, high reparation payments, debts, the unrest in society, civil war-like conditions on the streets of Berlin and Munich, and then also superinflation wear down and frighten the Germans. They suffer from loss of their pride, of their prosperity, their wealth, their security, their hope that they could have become a world power, which they had somehow felt called to be. Adolf Hitler, we know today, was in contact with occult trained people who promoted and trained him and gave content and structure to the secret background of the entire ideology of the so-called Third Reich. The name the Third Reich originally results from a Bible prophecy where there is named a Third Reich, which will be the Eternal Reich, ruled by the Christ. Hitler unerringly set to work on all the themes already mentioned and blended them together, mystified and exaggerated the German essence, the national uniqueness, and thus created a poisonous, initially tempting cocktail of being great again, Germany first, Germany above all, combined with a strong pretending to ensure peace and order, which unfortunately all the other parties of the young post-war Weimar Republic did not manage. Democracy has to be learned. The German democracy was still so young and easy to corrupt. What the Third Reich set in motion in terms of cruelty, contempt for humanity, harshness, aggression, control and oppression, inhumanity will forever cause bewilderment. And until today, it is very difficult for Germans to emotionally approach this period to their history, to talk about it, as you may feel or imagine. But if we succeed in not concealing or objectifying, but in integrating and sharing the most difficult and terrible things, but rather in showing them to each other, then we can succeed in coming closer to each other in a real and lasting way, in finding common ground, ecce homo. Total collapse and a new beginning. After the Second World War, the Federal Republic of Germany was founded in the American-occupied part of Germany, with the city of Bonn on 23rd May of 1949, and the German Democratic Republic was founded in the Soviet-occupied part of Berlin on 7 October 1949. Both Germanys became model countries for their respective political big brothers, whose ideology and narratives they now learned to achieve. On 13 August 1961, a wall is built that hermetically separates the two Germanys from then on. From summer 1989 onwards, GDR citizens travel en masse across the Hungarian-Austrian border to the west. And on 9 November 1989, after 40 years of separation, the wall has fallen. The bloodiless revolution mantra of the GDR citizens, "We are the people," had brought about something that was, for Germans, like a miracle. Reunited Germany, weaving new patterns in the tapestry of the nation. In all spiritual traditions, the number 40 has a special meaning. It is the number of preparation and transformation. In their divided states, of course, seen from today, there could hardly have been a better preparation to become an important bracket in the growing together of two hemispheres, to apply the ability of interweaving in a new way. Weaving correct relations aimed at harmonious, self-confident cooperation, a new empowerment. In 1994, the last Russian troop contingents left the territory of the former GDR, while the Americans remained in Germany. And it is now clearly apparent how problematic this is for a healthy and natural growing together in Europe, for creating peace in a new way, with new partners and old friends. It is time to start a conversation about when and how the American occupation of Germany could finish or be transformed into a solution between equals. Germany has been a faithful and loyal conscious ally of the Western alliances. However, its inclination to put itself at the service of a greater whole must not lead into the point of acting against its own interests. Germany has been incomprehensibly silent and passive in the Nord Stream 2 affair. It is time for Germany to close a long arc now and step from her heart center into a healthy and recognizable full power and an appreciative, self-aware relationship. Sending light will evoke light. In this way, obvious conflicts can be addressed and negotiated. Harmony at all costs is not the creative tension with which a fourth ray guided soul brings about and carries out rearrangement. Steps of healing on the way to a new empowerment. Right now, Germany needs courage to distance herself from strategies that contradict her own ethical convictions, that are not compatible with her fundamental rights. She may now look into her large history with an alert eye to reconnect with her colorful fourth ray soul. Germany finally will have transformed the shame in an eternal light in her higher mind, with the power to illuminate all moments of human consciousness when fallen into darkness. She has the right and the duty to do so. Germany will use her will to transform her sense of guilt into a sense of responsibility, not only towards the historical dead, but towards those who are living and want to live today. So, new, precious, solid filaments in the light of right relations are necessary to be woven patiently and very, very listening. Diversity as a natural law of evolution needs to be applied in a new way. Diversity needs constant exchange and exclusiveness 360 degrees. To feel responsible for this will be a promising step towards Germany's core purpose, to become again and evermore a weaving force in the heart of Europe. This can happen in a very German way, by using cultural dialogue in times of dislocation and conflict, offering surprising alternatives when there are blockages, not let stuck and crystallized difficult situations, always move. Finally, let's go underline what Annette told us about the astrological conditions of Germany. It will be our vision to meditate on, to work and to have fun with. Germany to stand truthfully and clearly in its own individuality. Germany integrating and overcoming the fear of abusing power. Germany sounding her own note loud and clear, taking her place in the orchestra of nations to bring powerful harmony. Germany choosing not the static but the dynamic balance of Libra. And here comes our soul blessing for Germany, and we invite you to follow with your hearts and with your minds, first in German, then in English. Verwurzelt mit Mutter Erde, verbunden mit Seele und Geist, bewahre, entwickle, frei, aufrichtig, mutig und sicher den Willen zum Guten. Mit dem Feuer des Herzens verwandle Polarität in Synthese, erbaue Brücken zum Frieden. Mögen die kosmischen Gesetze die Noten deiner Symphonie sein. rooted in Mother Earth, woven into soul and spirit, preserve, develop, free, sincere, courageous, and assured, the will to good. With fire, transform polarity into synthesis. Create new passages to peace. May the cosmic laws be the notes of your symphony.